So usually I'm standing in my videos, but for this one, I'm going to have to sit down. This one, I have to be seated because this video is going to turn into a massive rant at probably at the midpoint of this video. So the Switch 2 was officially announced. Well, not like officially announced, but it came out. It got like properly announced and the pricings came out for it. We got games as well with announcements of it. We found out that Mario Kart World was coming to it. We got a new Mario Kart game for the Nintendo Switch 2. We saw the specs of the Nintendo Switch 2 as well, which is the one thing that I was very intrigued for and I was looking forward to the most. And the specs on the Switch 2, they actually surprised me. They really did surprise me. The fact that we're getting up to 120 FPS on a Switch is going to be absolutely fucking insane. It's really great because if you've played a Switch, you know that the FPS on a Switch is shit house. It is terrible. That thing cannot crack over 30 frames per second, which is ridiculous. And like I said, we also then got the pricings for the console itself. And the pricing is $500 US, right? And here in Australia, it's a lot more because our economy and our dollar is really shit. So it's $700 and then $780 for the bundle with, you know, the new Mario Kart game. And you know what? As much as it's like, damn, that's a lot of money. At the same time, it's just like, you know what? It's fair enough. You know, $700 for a console, that's not that bad. You know, I mean, if you do look back just 5 years ago to how much, you know, the PS5 cost when it came out, it was $500 US. And then, you know, you look now at the retail price for the PS5 Pro, that is like $700 US. So, you know what? Not too bad, you know, especially because the specs on the console itself have been upgraded. But the one thing that many people have been complaining about, and where my rant is going to like start and it's going to eventually spiral in, is the price of the video games themselves, where it was announced that Mario Kart World was going to cost $80 US. And that itself is the digital version, because there's also a physical version which goes up to $90 as well in Euro and also American. And unfortunately for me here in Australia, because like I said, our dollar is really shit, if you want Mario Kart World in the physical edition, it is $120. $120 for a video game, and then the new Donkey Kong game, $110. Oh my god, what the actual fuck? $120 for a goddamn video game for Mario Kart out of everything. And this is why I think that it is completely bullshit for the fact that these games cost this much, and also the disparity between the digital and physical as well. Now, I want to get into the digital and physical, the difference between them two, of like how they are really stupid for the fact that they cost different prices. Now, if it was an actual physical version where it's the disc and all that kind of stuff, and you know the micro SD or whatever the hell you know you call the Switch cartridges, I don't fucking know what they're exactly called. But if they're charging an extra $10 because it's an actual thing, it's understandable, right? But when you buy the physical version, you're not even buying an actual game. You're buying a key card for the game. That's right. These little cartridges that go in the Switch now, they no longer hold the game itself. What you do is that you put it into the Switch and then it like detects it like it's a key code, and then it just downloads the game onto your Switch. So it's just like, oh yeah, I'm fine with spending the extra $10 so I don't have to wait for my game to download for like a couple hours. I can just buy it, plug it in, and play it straight away. No, you don't even do that. Like, why are you buying the $10 for? You're spending $10 more just to like leave your house. That's it. You're not spending $10 extra to like, oh yeah, so I don't have to wait for it to download on my console. What? 10 extra bucks for a piece of legitimate plastic with a code in it? That's it? Now into the reasons why $120 or $90 US or wherever you are living in the world. I think majority of the world, it's like, you know, $90, and then, you know, like I said, Australia, we just get cucked in the fucking asshole when it comes to costs of a lot of costs of things. We've known for a while now about the increase in game prices, right? It's been speculated for a long time now that with the next generation of games that is coming up, and especially because, you know, this console generation itself, or Switch is in, Nintendo's always in their own console generation, right? But in this current console generation, in this generation of games as well, is that it's slowly coming to an end and we're starting to get into a new generation of video games. And with that comes a lot more higher costs of games. Like, you look at the amount of money that some games have cost in recent times, you know, some of them go up to hundreds of millions of dollars, which to me, I could go into a whole nother rant about why I think it's absolutely stupid and that games should not cost that much. Like, I don't think a game needs to cost 400 fucking million dollars to make just for it to flop, right? I don't think they need to cost that much. But when it comes to some games, right? When it comes to something like GTA 6, if that game turns out that I have to pay 120 Australian dollars, or if you're in the US, $90, because of the extent of that game, how massive that game is, how long it's taken for it to be in development for, how much money they've put into that game and how much we're actually getting out of it. Because like majority of the times with these companies, you know, they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on these AAA titles and we're getting slop out of it a lot of the times. Like I said, like Concord last year, $400 million for fucking what, right? Assassin's Creed Shadows, apparently that's cost like hundreds of million dollars as well. It's just like, what the fuck for? You look at other games that haven't done well. You look at Dragon Age of Valguard, that costs apparently like hundreds of millions of dollars. And, you know, that itself wasn't all that great. But when it comes to like, you know, a GTA 6 and that costing hundreds of millions of dollars, it's like, that's a generational game, right? And for those types of games, it's just like, I can understand it, right? Absolutely, it's going to have hundreds, if not thousands of hours of different types of content in that game to justify this price point, right? But for a Nintendo game, for Mario Kart, there is absolutely no reason in hell that Mario Kart needs to cost $120. It's not like the game is some realistic graphics. Like, no Nintendo game has that extreme realism in it, which is what, to me, I have made, like, you know, into the argument that that's one of the reasons why so many games have gone up in prices, is because companies are focusing too much on the graphic side of things more than like the gameplay and the mechanics of it. Like, you look at Elden Ring itself, that game cost $200 million, where if you look at it, you would think that something like Elden Ring would cost like $400-500 million, considering the amount of content that's in that game. But it's because they focused a lot on the art style of the game more than the actual realism of the graphics, right? And that's why I think that a lot of these companies are wasting money. But Nintendo games, they're never into that. They're never into this realistic graphic style, mainly because, you know, in the past, when it's come to the type of consoles that they've released, you know, being the Wii and the Nintendo Switch, the original Switch, you know, their specs haven't been enough to be able to hold up that type of, you know, graphics. So they've had to, you know, go down different routes, which to me, I like it more anyways. So these games don't even have that much of a budget compared to these other AAA titles. And then you look at Mario Kart as a core, it's a racing game. That's all it is. Yeah, there's like all different maps and different people to play as, but if you look at the amount of actual content that's in that game, there are so many more games over the last 10-20 years that have so much more content in them and that cost so much less. And even then, if we go ahead and we look at another Nintendo game that has had a lot of content in it, in something with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, now we don't know the exact amount of how much these games have cost, right? Because Nintendo's very secretive of when it comes to, you know, how much things are and all that kind of stuff, right? But apparently there's been a lot of reports about how much Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom have cost, and they've been speculated to be around, you know, 100 million for Breath of the Wild and up to 150 million for Tears of the Kingdom. That's fucking nothing. That's absolutely nothing. Like, and that doesn't surprise me. You know, for these games, you know, a Mario Kart game, I could easily see it costing 150 million maximum. And then you're charging 120 fucking dollars for it. That to me is the most selfish and the most anti-consumer thing that they could do. And to be honest, I'm not surprised that they've gone ahead and done stuff like this. And you might be saying, oh, Donnie, how is this anti-consumer? How can you make the argument that Nintendo's anti-consumer? This isn't the first time that they've been anti-consumer. Nintendo is infamously known for being anti-consumer over so many years. I mean, the fact that they keep their games exclusive on their consoles and don't release them on any other consoles and not on PC, that is anti-consumer. The fact that they've gone ahead and they've shut down every single emulator that has tried to come out. They're suing Palworld over the dumbest game mechanic ever. It's just like, it's so stupid. They just tried to find a way to sue Palworld because God forbid anyone does Pokemon better than fucking Nintendo. And it's not even just like the new games that are costing this much as well. Go back to Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. They're re-releasing those games on Nintendo Switch 2. They're $110 here in Australia or $90 in the US. Why is it that a game that came out, like, I can't remember when Breath of the Wild came out, I think it was like 10 years ago now. Why the fuck is that game costing $110? What the fuck? An old game that's just been ported over to the Nintendo Switch 2, probably with like better FPS and shit like that. It's like, Jesus, why is it 110? Like, that's so obvious of them being selfish. And you might say like, oh, but I've got the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and all these other Switch games on the Switch 1. Can I go ahead and convert them over? Yeah, you can. But guess what? You have to buy an upgrade pack for them. That's right. You can't just, not like old consoles, you know, when you bought a PS2 and now you have a PS3. Oh, I'm going to play my PS2 game on my PS3 for free. No, you have to buy a fucking upgrade pack. You can't just plug in your old, like, you know, I can't just grab my Breath of the Wild, plug it in my Nintendo Switch 2 and then go, cool, I can now play it on my Switch 2. No, you have to buy something in order to fucking play it on the sequel to its console. Oh my God. Like, Nintendo has no fucking shame. No shame whatsoever in any of this. And you might be wondering, like, Donnie, why are they doing this? Like if this is so anti-consumer and there's really no justification for them to justify the amount that they're charging for these games. Like I said, the console, you can say that the console's overpriced and stuff like that, right? But at the same time, I'm like, listen, man, whatever, you know, the console, $700, you know, or $500. Yeah, it costs a lot, but it's actually not that bad if you really think about it in hindsight, yeah? But like the amount that the games are costing themselves, there's no justification for the reason why games cost this much. But the reason why they're doing it is because these fucking Nintendo suckers, right? And it wouldn't surprise me if this video does get some views, right? Because lately my channel's been up and down when it comes to views. Is that it wouldn't surprise me if I have some Nintendo suckboy in my comments trying to make up some excuse for the reason why these games deserve to be $120. Because they will buy them. That's what it is. People who suck up to Nintendo are some of the biggest dick suckers in the fucking world. Like, they will sit there in their corner, eat shit, and try to tell you that it's fucking chocolate. It's just like, bro, there's nothing wrong if you want to eat shit. Just don't tell me that it's fucking chocolate, because it's not. It's like you're just being a shit eater. And that's the thing, is that people are going to buy this. People will. Like, they 100% will. Like, I was looking forward to the Nintendo Switch 2. I was like, yeah, I can't wait to see it. Can't wait for the specs. Maybe I might save up money to buy it. But I'm sorry, I'm not spending $120 on a fucking video game. I'm not. No shot in hell am I ever spending money, $120 on a fucking video game. And I'm not spending $700 on a console. Like, altogether, what? You know, in the bundle cost me $780, but then outside the bundle will cost me over $800. Get the fuck out of here. No chance in hell. And if you're really thinking about buying Nintendo Switch 2, right? Let me give you some advice before you go ahead and do so. Don't buy a Nintendo Switch 2, buy a Steam Deck. It's worth your money. It's more worth your money, and at least with the games on Steam, you can buy indie games that cost more than half the price of these fucking absolute shellouts, because this is some shameless shit, right? You can buy an amazing indie game for $20 fucking. You can buy Skyrim that came out like over 10 years ago that has so much more content than Mario Kart World, and you can save yourself so much fucking money, right? Just buy a Steam Deck instead. It'll be so much more worth your money than this fucking shit will be. Like, this to me is just ridiculous. There's no justification for this whatsoever. The price of games, I can understand where some of them, you know, like a GTA 6 would cost this much. But Mario Kart, Donkey Kong, and then like the Zelda games that already have been released on the previous Switch, costing as much as they do, there's no justification for them. Absolutely none. And it's fucking shameless with what Nintendo has done here. But I would definitely like to hear what you guys think about all this down below. That's going to be it from me. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Peace out.